North Tower, September 11th, 2001, 8:58 a.m. Dave Karnes stands in a debris cloud, gripping a woman's wrist. She's screaming, ankle trapped under a fallen beam, fire spreading across the lobby floor. He's got 90 seconds, maybe less, before the secondary collapse hits. Blood streaks his jacket. A silver Zippo lighter with FDNY engraved on it sits in his pocket. He has no plan. "I'm not leaving you," he says. Words that will haunt him for months. He pulls her free, carries her 200 yards through smoke and chaos. She blacks out. He vanishes before the ambulance doors close. 6 months later, a wedding invitation arrives at a Brooklyn VA shelter. Her name, Sarah Chen, investment banker. The mystery: how did she find a homeless man who didn't want to be found? And why did he walk into those towers that morning? Dave Karnes woke up on September 11, 2001 in a Brooklyn VA shelter with one plan: disappear. He was 43, a Marine Corps veteran who'd been homeless for 3 years. PTSD diagnosis from 1998. No family except the memory of his brother Michael, an FDNY firefighter who died responding to a warehouse fire in 1995. Michael's silver Zippo lighter, engraved with the department insignia, was the only thing Dave still carried. Every morning, same routine. Coffee from the bodega on Flatbush, walk toward the Brooklyn Bridge, flip the lighter 12 times, think about jumping. He never did. Too public. Too many witnesses. That morning at 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Dave heard it on someone's radio. He stood on the bridge, lighter in hand, and made a different choice. He started walking toward Manhattan, not to save anyone, to vanish inside the chaos where nobody would ask questions. The towers were burning, perfect cover for a man who wanted to stop existing. Sarah Chen was 29 and running 40 minutes late, senior analyst at Lehman Brothers, managing a $4.2 million portfolio. Meeting scheduled for 9 a.m. on the 94th floor of the North Tower. She was stuck in traffic on the FDR Drive when the first plane hit. By the time she reached the lobby, the building was already evacuating. She pushed against the crowd, contracts in her briefcase, career on the line. The second plane hit the South Tower at 9:03 a.m. The lobby shook. A support beam collapsed near the elevator bank. It pinned her right ankle, fire spreading from ruptured gas lines. She screamed, clawing at the floor, briefcase forgotten. That's when she saw him. Homeless man, torn jacket, wild eyes, emerging from the smoke like he'd been waiting there. He didn't hesitate, dropped to his knees, lifted the beam with both hands, pulled her free. His lighter fell from his pocket during the struggle. She grabbed it without thinking, metal still warm from his hand. He carried her through the debris field, 200 yards, until an EMT took her. She blacked out. When she woke up at St. Vincent's Hospital 3 hours later, he was gone. The lighter sat in a plastic bag with her belongings. Ash-covered, engraved, FDNY, MK 1995. Sarah asked every nurse, every EMT who rotated through her room, "Where's the man who brought me in?" Nobody had an answer. He'd disappeared before anyone could get a name. Surveillance footage from the lobby was destroyed in the collapse. By the end of September, 2,977 deaths were confirmed. Sarah underwent ankle surgery in early October, 3 pins, permanent limp, physical therapy twice a week. She kept the lighter on her nightstand, turned it over every night before sleep. Same motion Dave had used for years. She didn't know that yet. What she knew: someone pulled her out of that building, someone who had nothing, someone who vanished on purpose. The engraving became her only lead. She hired a private investigator in late October, traced MK 1995 to Michael Karnes, Brooklyn firefighter, died in a warehouse response. Next of kin, listed. David Karnes, brother, no current address on file. She posted a $50,000 reward, printed flyers with the lighter's photo. Seeking man who saved my life, 911 North Tower lobby. Dave saw one of those flyers at the shelter in November. He burned it in the courtyard trash can and told no one. Dave Karnes had a system for staying invisible. Brooklyn VA shelter under a fake name. John Mitchell, signed in sporadically. Never the same night twice in a row. Day labor gigs paid cash, construction cleanup, warehouse loading, nothing with a paper trail. He avoided cameras, never made eye contact, kept his head down. The rescue haunted him, but not the way people think. For 90 seconds in that lobby pulling Sarah free, he'd felt something close to purpose. His brother's lighter in his pocket, his brother's last words echoing. Help people, Dave. That's the only thing that matters. But purpose was dangerous. It made you think your life had value. It made you believe you deserved to keep going. Dave had learned the opposite after his discharge in 1998. Depression, survivor guilt from missions he couldn't talk about, watching Michael die in 1995 while he was deployed overseas. The day Michael was buried, Dave started carrying the lighter. Every July, on the anniversary, he'd sit on the bridge and flip it open, open, closed, thinking about following his brother. September 11th gave him cover to finally do it. Except he saved someone instead. And now that someone was hunting him with investigators, money, and a lighter that linked back to the one person he couldn't let go of, he stayed hidden, terrified that being found would destroy him all over again. Sarah's private investigator was a former NYPD detective named Robert Chen. No relation, but the coincidence made her trust him. He tracked David Karnes through VA records. Marine Corps, honorably discharged 1998, PTSD treatment history, last known address at a Brooklyn shelter in 2000. No employment records since, no bank account, no phone. Chen visited the shelter in December 2001, spoke to the director, a woman named Linda Torres. Dave Karnes, quiet guy, reads a lot, hasn't been here in weeks. That was a lie, and Chen knew it. Homeless communities protect their own, especially from people with money asking questions. Sarah came herself a week later, walked into the common room with the lighter in her hand, asked every man there, "Do you know who this belonged to?" Faces turned away. Nobody spoke. One older man, gray beard, army jacket, stared at the lighter longer than the others. Sarah caught it. She left her number with Linda Torres. "If Dave shows up, tell him I just want to say thank you, that's all. No reward, no press, just 5 minutes." The man in the army jacket found Dave that night in the courtyard, passed him the lighter. Sarah had left it as bait. "She's not giving up," the man said. "Says she knows you went there to die." Dave held the lighter, metal cold now, and didn't ask how Sarah knew. He already understood. She'd done the same research he would have done. And if she knew that much, she knew everything. December 15th, 2001. Sarah received a call from a number she didn't recognize. The voice was rough, hesitant. "You wanted to know about Dave Karnes." It was the man in the army jacket. Wouldn't give his name. Said he served with Dave in the Gulf. He told her something nobody else would. He wasn't there to help people. He was there to end it. Sarah didn't believe him at first. The caller continued. "Check the Brooklyn Bridge security archives. Night of September 10th around 11 p.m. You'll see." She had Chen pull the footage. It took 2 weeks, but he found it. Grainy black and white video. Dave Karnes standing at the bridge railing, lighter in hand, staring down at the water for 18 minutes. He walked away at 11:34 p.m., came back the next morning at 6:15 a.m., crossed toward Manhattan. The timestamp was clear. Sarah sat in her apartment, ankle throbbing, and replayed the footage 7 times. The man who saved her life had been standing on that bridge deciding whether to jump. He chose to walk into the towers instead. A quieter, more anonymous disappearance. Except he found her trapped in the lobby and made a different choice in that moment. The footage haunted her because she understood it. She printed a frame. Dave's silhouette against the bridge cables, lighter barely visible in his hand. The image sat on her desk for weeks. What the caller didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Sarah had been carrying her own plan that morning. A sealed envelope in her briefcase, addressed to her mother. Suicide note. 3 sentences. She'd planned to jump from her office window after the meeting. The traffic jam that made her late had saved her before Dave ever did. Or maybe it was the other way around. By January 2002, Sarah stopped looking for Dave and started looking for herself. The suicide note was still in her briefcase, never mailed, never opened by anyone else. She'd been drowning in private debt. Student loans, bad investments, a gambling habit nobody at Lehman knew about, while projecting wealth and control. The facade cracked on September 11th. Lying in that hospital bed, ankle shattered, she'd realized the plan to jump had been cowardice disguised as escape. Someone had pulled her out of the fire. Someone who had every reason to let the world end. That changed the equation. She wrote a letter in late January. No address, just left it with Linda Torres at the shelter, along with the lighter. The letter was direct. You gave me my life. Let me give you yours. No questions asked. Inside the envelope, keys to a Brooklyn studio apartment, prepaid lease for 6 months, and a handwritten offer for work. Data entry, remote, no background check required, $15 an hour. She didn't expect a response, but she needed Dave to know someone saw him, not as a hero, but as a man who'd made a choice when it mattered. The 6-month anniversary memorial was announced for March 11th, 2002. Sarah attended in her wheelchair, still rehabbing, still learning to walk again. She sat in the back of the crowd at Ground Zero, holding a printout of Dave's Marine Corps photo that Chen had found in service records. She scanned every face, knowing he wouldn't come, but he did. Standing at the far edge, hood up, hands in pockets, he saw her holding the photo. Their eyes met for 3 seconds, then he turned and walked toward the Brooklyn Bridge. She didn't follow. She'd already given him the only thing that mattered, a way out that wasn't death. Dave showed up at the apartment address on February 14th, 2002. He'd been carrying the keys for 2 weeks, sleeping in the shelter, staring at the address written on the lease. The number terrified him more than the bridge ever had. It meant someone believed he deserved a second chance. He knocked at 8 p.m. Sarah opened. The door recognized him instantly despite the beard he'd grown. Her first words, "You kept the lighter." He pulled it from his pocket, handed it to her. "It's all I had left of him." She turned it over, same motion he'd used 1,000 times. "Now it's all I have left of that day." They sat in her living room for 20 minutes without speaking. The lighter rested on the coffee table between them, equidistant, belonging to neither of them anymore. Finally, Sarah broke the silence. "I was going to jump that morning." Dave looked up. She continued. "From my office, 94th floor, I had the note written, 'Traffic saved me, then you saved me. I don't know which mattered more.'" Dave's voice came out cracked. "I walked into those towers to disappear. Wasn't trying to be a hero. Just wanted it to be over." Sarah nodded. "I know. Someone at the shelter told me about the bridge." They sat with that truth between them. 2 people who'd been walking toward death, who'd collided in a burning lobby and accidentally chose life instead. Dave asked, "Why give me the apartment? The job? You don't owe me anything." Sarah's answer was simple, "Because you didn't owe me anything either, and you still pulled me out." The lighter caught the lamplight, engraving visible FDNY, Michael Karnes, 1995. Two people saved by a dead man's legacy, sitting in a room that neither of them thought they'd live to see. They started meeting weekly after that. Coffee shop on Flatbush, always the same booth, always Wednesday mornings. Dave moved into the apartment, started the data entry job Sarah had arranged. She continued physical therapy, learning to walk without the wheelchair. The lighter became a centerpiece at their meetings, sitting between their coffee cups like a talisman. They didn't talk about September 11th directly. Instead, they traded smaller truths. Dave's deployment stories, Sarah's college years, the ordinary weight of living when you'd planned to stop. By March 2002, Davey had enrolled in PTSD counseling through the VA. Sarah quit Lehman Brothers, couldn't stomach the pressure, the facade, the same desk where she'd written the suicide note. She started researching victim support nonprofits, organizations, helping families navigate grief and trauma. The media caught wind of their story in late March. Homeless hero finds new life after saving 9/11 survivor. The headline was wrong in every way that mattered. They weren't hero and victim. They were two people who'd saved each other from choices they couldn't take back. A reporter from the Times called Sarah, asked for an interview. She declined, but issued one statement. "We're not a rescue story. We're two people who decided to keep going. That's all." The statement made the article anyway, framed as humility. Dave hated the attention, stopped going to the coffee shop for 2 weeks. Sarah found him at the apartment, lighter on the kitchen counter, packed bag by the door. "I can't do this," he said. "Everyone thinking I'm some kind of saint. I'm not. I went there to die." Sarah sat down across from him. "So did I. And we're both still here. That's not sainthood. That's just survival." The bag stayed by the door for 3 more days. Then Dave unpacked it. The lighter went back on the coffee table, and they kept meeting on Wednesdays. March 28th, 2002. Sarah asked Dave to meet her at Ground Zero. He almost didn't go. The site still felt like a wound, a place where too many people had made his choice and hadn't gotten the chance to change their minds. But he went. She was standing at the temporary memorial fence, photos and flowers tied to the chain link. She turned when he approached. No wheelchair this time, walking with a cane. "I have something to ask you," she said. Dave braced for the worst. Interview request, public appearance, something that would turn their story into spectacle. Instead, Sarah said, "I want to start a foundation for people like us, the ones who survived, but don't know how to keep surviving." It wasn't a marriage proposal, though the media would later confuse it for one. It was a partnership, rebuilding lives together, helping others navigate the gap between staying alive and actually living. Dave didn't answer immediately. He looked at the memorial, names etched in temporary plaques, flowers wilting in the March cold. "What would we even call it?" Sarah pulled a folded paper from her coat, nonprofit incorporation documents, blank line for the organization name. "I was thinking, the Second Chance Project." Dave felt the lighter in his pocket, Michael's legacy pressed against his ribs. His brother had spent his whole career pulling people out of fires. Maybe this was the same work, just a different kind of flame. "Okay," he said. "But I'm not doing press. No hero stories, just the work." Sarah nodded. Just the work. They filed the incorporation papers in April. Dave moved into a larger apartment, still Brooklyn, still modest, but with space for an office. Sarah secured initial funding from 9/11 relief organizations. By May, they were interviewing their first clients, survivors struggling with PTSD, guilt, the impossible weight of living when others hadn't. The foundation launched quietly in June 2002. No ribbon cutting, no media event. Just a small office in Brooklyn, 2 desks, a phone line, and a waiting list of 40 people in the first week. Dave handled intake calls, his voice steady, practiced in not flinching when people described wanting to die. Sarah managed logistics, funding, partnerships with therapists and counselors. The lighter sat on the shared desk between them, a reminder of what they'd both walked away from. Their first success story was a firefighter named Chen, no relation to Sarah, but the coincidence felt like a sign. Marcus had pulled 3 people from the South Tower, watched it collapse, survivor guilt eating him alive for 8 months. He came to their office in July, hands shaking, barely able to speak. Dave sat with him for 2 hours, didn't offer platitudes, just listened. At the end, Marcus asked, "Does it get easier?" Dave's answer, "No, but you get stronger at carrying it." By August, the foundation had helped 17 people. The work was slow, painful, unglamorous, exactly what both Dave and Sarah needed. No spotlights, no hero narratives, just 2 people who understood that survival wasn't a moment. It was a choice you made every single day. The media found them again in September, 1-year anniversary approaching. A producer wanted to film their story for a documentary, From Tragedy to Triumph. Sarah declined in one sentence. "We're not a triumph. We're still figuring it out." The producer pushed back, offered money. Dave hung up the phone. That night they sat in the office after hours, lighter between them, city lights flickering through the window. Sarah asked, "Do you ever regret it? Not going through with it?" Dave thought for a long time, every day, and never. July 15th, 2002. 7 years since Michael Karnes died. Dave and Sarah drove to the FDNY Memorial in Brooklyn, where Michael's name was engraved on a bronze plaque among other fallen firefighters. Dave hadn't visited since the funeral in 1995. Couldn't stomach it, couldn't face the proof that his brother was gone while he was still breathing. But Sarah insisted. They stood in front of the plaque, summer heat pressing down, cicadas screaming in the trees. Dave pulled the lighter from his pocket, held it for a moment, then placed it on the memorial ledge among the flowers and American flags. Sarah watched, didn't interrupt. "He'd want someone else to carry it," Dave said quietly. "Someone who needs it more than I do." They walked away, leaving the lighter behind for the first time in 7 years. It felt like amputation and relief in equal measure. The memorial remained there, lighter among the tributes, catching sunlight through the trees. A few days later, a firefighter trainee found it, pocketed it, carried it through his academy graduation. He never knew the full story, just that it felt important. Meanwhile, Dave and Sarah returned to the foundation. September 11th, 2002, 1-year anniversary, approached with media frenzy, memorial services, political speeches. They attended the Ground Zero ceremony, standing in the back, holding hands, during the moment of silence. No interviews, no statements. Just 2 people remembering the day they both should have died and didn't. After the ceremony, they walked back to Brooklyn, past the shelter where Dave had hidden, past the bridge where he'd stood contemplating the water. Neither of them looked at the railing. They'd already made their choice. The lighter was gone, but the weight it represented, Michael's legacy, the pull toward death, the impossible burden of survival, remained. They carried it together now. That made it lighter. September 2003. 2 years after the towers fell. Dave Karnes stood at ground zero with Sarah Chen, watching the second anniversary memorial. She'd traded the cane for a slight limp. Physical therapy finally complete, ankle healed as much as it would ever heal. He'd been sober from suicidal ideation for 14 months, not cured, just managing it day by day, session by session. The foundation had helped 63 people by then. Small number. But 63 people who were still breathing, still choosing to wake up every morning, that counted for something. After the ceremony, as the crowd dispersed, a man approached them. Mid-30s, worn jacket, hollow eyes. He held out a silver Zippo lighter. Not the same one, but close enough to make Dave's chest tighten. The man's voice shook. "I need help. I don't know who else to ask." Sarah took the lighter, turned it over. No engraving this time. Just a plain silver case, scratched from years of use. She looked at Dave. He looked at the man. Saw himself 2 years ago, lost. Desperate, standing on the edge of a choice that couldn't be undone. "What's your name?" Dave asked. The man hesitated. "Does it matter?" "Yeah," Dave said. "It does." The man exhaled. "Marcus, different Marcus, not the firefighter, just Marcus." Dave nodded, pulled a business card from his wallet. The Second Chance Project, address and phone number printed in simple black text. "Come to this address tomorrow, 10 a.m. We'll talk." Marcus took the card, looked at the lighter still in Sarah's hand. "Can I keep that?" Sarah handed it back. "It's yours. Just don't let it become the only thing you're holding on to." Marcus nodded, pocketed the lighter, walked away into the September crowd. Dave watched him go, feeling the phantom weight of his own lighter, the one he'd left at Michael's memorial 14 months ago. They never saw Marcus again. Maybe he showed up at the office, and they missed him. Maybe he changed his mind. Maybe he made a different choice on a different bridge. Dave didn't let himself think about it too much. Couldn't save everyone, couldn't even save himself most days. Just had to keep showing up, keep answering the phone, keep choosing to stay. By 2004, the foundation had expanded. 3 full-time counselors, a partnership with the VA, a waiting list that never got shorter. Sarah married someone else in 2005, a quiet accountant who understood that her relationship with Dave wasn't romantic. It was something deeper and more complicated. Dave stood as a witness at the wedding, gave a toast that made everyone cry, to second chances and the people brave enough to take them. He never married, dated occasionally, but nothing stuck. The work was enough. The foundation was enough. Knowing that somewhere in Brooklyn or Manhattan or anywhere, people were carrying lighters and keys and sealed letters, standing on bridges and rooftops and subway platforms, deciding whether to stay, that was enough. September 11th became a day he marked quietly, privately, not with memorials or speeches, but with a long walk across the Brooklyn Bridge, hands in pockets, looking at the water and choosing to keep walking. The lighter he'd left at Michael's memorial was gone. Probably stolen, maybe lost, possibly carried by someone who needed it. Didn't matter. The weight was still there, would always be there. But some people carry fire, and some people carry the ones who need it most. Dave Karnes carried both. So did Sarah Chen. So did everyone who walked into their office, holding their own version of a silver lighter, asking the hardest question, what now?